just have fun and, um, also be mindful of what you're posting because once it's out in the world, it's there forever. So I think also keep that in mind as well. But just have fun and you don't have to feel like you have to curate something or make your page perfect or this thing. Just post because you enjoy it. And I think that's what I do. Of course, I take images and I have photo shoots, but I just have fun. I'm like, oh, I like this image. And this quote is speaking to me today. And I know that it might speak to other people as well. So I'm going to just post it. And so I definitely would just say have fun with it.
Knobbox Dance presents Dance Behind the Screen, process production and social media. Hey knowers, welcome to our podcast. We are Knobbox Dance, a social media-based company. We strive to say no to the box. We connect interdisciplinary art, technology, and artists to re-envision the process of art making and sharing.
Hello, everyone. It is Marthea, your host of today's episode of Dance Behind the Screen podcast. I am on a Skype call with Tamisha Guy, who is both a dancer and rehearsal director of Kyle Abraham's Abraham in Motion. Her lean, articulate technique is a joy to watch, but her sense of dignity and quiet force of personality are almost profound. A review of Tamisha as stated by Indie Week's review of American Dance Festival 2018. Tamisha, a native of Trinidad and Tobago, began her formal training at Ballet Tech, the New York City public school for dance under the direction of Elliott Feld. Later, she attended Fiorella H. LaGuardia High School and SUNY Purchase College as a double major in dance and arts management. She has completed summer programs with Complexions Contemporary Ballet, Springboard Dance Montreal, and Nathan Trice, and performed works by William Forsythe, Pam Tenowitz, Lonnie Landon, Mark Morris, and Martha Graham. In 2013, Guy graduated with honors from SUNY Purchase College and joined the Martha Graham Company shortly after. In 2016, Guy was selected as one of Dance Magazine's top 25 to watch, and she also received the 2016 Princess Grace Award. Congratulations on all your accomplishments and awards, Tamisha, and without further ado, welcome on our podcast.
Amazing. Thank you so much for such an illustrious introduction. And I'm excited to be here with you today. Just to talk and chat and I'm really excited. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're really looking forward to actually, going behind the screen and getting to connect with you in this new way. Yeah. So to start us off, how would you briefly describe your career?
I just feel blessed, I would say. I feel like that's the word I would use to kind of describe the career I've had thus far. I feel as if like things have just like aligned so perfectly for me. Of course, there's been, bumps along the way, but I definitely feel blessed to have had just the career that I've had thus far. It's been awesome, an awesome ride so far.
And I'm excited to hear more about that. Could we just go ahead and dig right in and start with, what has your dance audition experience been like?
Sure. So I was a junior in college and, you're a junior, so you're sort of thinking about what's next, but you're still trying to, of course, be present and be in college.
Right.
But my junior year of college, I had a really incredible Graham teacher at Purchase College, Stephanie Tuman, who just always pushed me, and she always believed in me, and definitely I felt that she had my back always. And the Graham Company was having an audition maybe in, it was coming up. And I hadn't thought of going to the audition. I sort of was like, I'm not going to go. I'm a junior. And I wasn't prepared or willing to leave school because I was a double major. So I wanted to definitely finish. And it was so funny because as I was leaving the dance building one day, I ran into her and she kind of pulled me aside and she said, "Are you going to the Graham audition?" And I said, "No." And then she looks at me and she says, well, you're going and you're not going to get cut. And I said, okay. So I went
Very
to the audition,
confident in your ability.
very, definitely. And so I went to the audition and I did well. I didn't get cut, which was really, it was sort of surreal too, because I was like, oh my gosh, I can go back and tell her that, but I definitely thank her for that push. But that audition was pretty, it was really fun. Everyone in the room was really kind. The artistic director and rehearsal director, they were super open.
What was the audition like?
Yeah, well, we walk in and you get there pretty early. So like 10 a.m. And you sign in, you show your headshot resume, and then you do maybe a few like gram combinations. And after that, you do a cut. You may do more gram combinations, then you do another cut. And then the final few hours is just repertory. So that was basically the day. And after the repertory portion, we all got to interview with the artistic director and the rehearsal director of the company. And from
it's
there,
a long day.
Yeah, it's a very long day. It's usually like maybe 10 to 6 day, a 10 to 6 day that you'll have in your audition process. Sometimes it can be shorter depending on how, far you make it in the process, but it definitely varies depending on that.
And so what was it like when you went back after to tell your mentor, if you will?
Yes. Well, I can't remember if I sent her a text message or if I wanted to see the, expression on her face, but either way, I told her and she just was super excited for me. And at that point, I hadn't gotten the position because I was, I spoke to the directors and I made it clear that I wanted to finish school, that I wasn't going to leave school if they were going to give me the opportunity. Because education was very important to me and to my family, and I just had to finish, and they really respected that, and they also wanted me to finish. But
what was that negotiation like? But to negotiate essentially, for your education, they were accepting of that.
They were very accepting. They were super open, and I think I was just so happy to have made it that far. I didn't go in with the intention necessarily of making it to the end. Yes, I definitely wanted and planned to do my best. But, I got to the end and I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do now? And, I just immediately was like, oh, well, I'm going to finish school. I know that for sure. And they were just super open and just like really kind. And I think they also supported my decision, which I was so, grateful of. So when I went back to school and I told my grad teacher, she was super excited. And, she also reminded me to stay in contact with the directors just to still show my interest. And my senior year of college, the director of the Gram company actually reached out to my Gram teacher asking what I was up to. And that's kind of how the whole, connection deepened, and I ended up in the company a month after I graduated from college. So
that's incredible. I mean, I just have to say congratulations on that accomplishment.
Thank you.
You are listening to Now Vox Dance.
So it seems like, was that kind of like the launching pad then for how did you become then the dancer and now the rehearsal director also of Kyle Abraham's A.I.M in Motion? What does that transition period look like?
Yes, I would definitely say it was a launching pad for sure. I think it gave me the confidence, firstly, but it taught me I don't know. I just was like, I want to work hard. I want to do this. I want to stick with dance. I don't know, because you have these kind of like waves, and I think it definitely was reassuring. But working with A.I.M in Motion and getting to work with Kyle has been truly a blessing as well, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I danced with the Gram company for a year and a half, and I had sort of built a relationship, I guess, with Kyle prior to joining the dance Gram company, because he he set a senior solo on one of my really good friends in college, and we were all in the same show. So Kyle came to support the show. So he saw me dance, and he sent me a really nice message, just like congratulating me and just saying if I was ever had available time, if I would want to come into his rehearsals and, just play and be in the room. So that's kind of how it started, my relationship with Kyle. And then there was a moment where the Graham Company, we were off for a number of months, and Kyle reached out to me during that time and asked me if I wanted to join his company on a residency at Jacob's Pillow. So I was free, and
wow,
oh my gosh, I was like, yes, work, great. So I went with his company to Jacob's Pillow, and that's where we started working on his 2014 2 evening length works. So I started creating that with him, and then we went back to New York, and I had a decision to make if I wanted to continue with Kyle or stay with the Graham Company.
And because it would have been too much of a time commitment to be a part of both companies.
Exactly. And for a short period of time, I tried to do both, and it sort of was working, but then at a certain point, it became just a bit too much. And also it seemed as if both companies had the same exact schedule, like touring, rehearsals, and everything.
Oh, okay.
So like, oh my gosh, like, are you guys talking to each other? But no. So I, had to talk with the director at the Graham Company, and she was super, just like open and just like kind. And she understood, just like what I was going through. And she gave me her blessing, and also, just reminded me that the door is always open as well. So it was really just like a great transition. So I started working with Kyle, and I've been here for 5.5 years. It's been a really, incredible journey. I've learned so much about just like, the ins and outs of how a company works, and also I've seen so much growth in myself. But yes, also being a dancer and rehearsal director, I, in a sense, definitely wear 2 hats because, I'm in the room as a dancer first. But I definitely enjoy, that Kyle can lean on me in some sort of way to be of help and of service to him and his company.
Could you kind of walk us through like what that rehearsal process might be like, switching between the 2 hats of dancer and then rehearsal director?
Sure. So I feel like I kind of have one on top of one another. So
okay, giving us a visual.
Yes, because I'm definitely in a majority of the work. So there's not necessarily a moment where I get to sit out and maybe watch something from the other side. So for me, it's definitely trying my hardest to be present in the work and also be aware of the other dancers and what's going on around me. So if, something is off or, a step is missed or anything like that, I'm also able to tap into that. But it's been great so far. And I also, Matthew Baker, he's the associate choreographic associate, and so we run rehearsals together usually in Kyle's absence. So I'm not the only voice in the room when Kyle's not there. So it's really great that we can both share the role in a sense and bounce off of each other.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to kind of circle back to your experience with Martha Graham Dance Company and then now Abraham in Motion. It seems to me as if your experience in being a part of both these companies has a lot to do with like the connections that you've made. But do you think that these companies considered at all your social media presence, or has your social media presence kind of evolved out of being a part of these companies?
I would say my social media presence definitely evolved out of being in both companies. When I was in the Graham Company, I didn't necessarily have much of a social media presence because it was my first job out of college. So I think I was more so just focused on doing my job.
Doing the job, yeah.
Doing the job and, not letting much, and I wouldn't say that social media is, yes, it is. It can be a distraction, actually. I'm going to, but I definitely, as I graduated college, I was just focused on doing my job and doing it well, and also getting to know the, 17 dancers that I was now dancing with. So I would say now more so in A.I.M, I definitely use social media way more, just to, share. I'm not necessarily, I like to share a lot on social media, but I like to use my platform to encourage and to motivate people. And that's what is most like gratifying and fun about social media for me.
And I think that's what's so, inspiring about your account. You always share these like captivating pictures and these wonderful quotes. And I'm curious, like, how do you develop your captions and decide what to hashtag? And then I also noticed, this is like a kind of a big question, I also noticed in your feed, you seem to post things in threes on Instagram. So I'm just kind of curious, why do you do that? And if you could, walk us through what it's like to post on social media.
Sure. So I think of just how I think hard we can be on ourselves sometimes. And so I think I definitely look for quotes that can offer some, some encouragement and then just a reminder to help us to not beat ourselves up always. So I think when I'm searching, I have that in mind. And also I look for quotes that I too can get something out of.
Just based on how you're feeling that day, or do you plan ahead, or?
It's a bit of both. I think usually it's definitely based on how I'm feeling each day. Sometimes I plan ahead, but usually when I do plan ahead, I end up not using the quote that I wanted to use, because in the moment when I was planning, that is how I felt in the moment, So I think I definitely, each day I wake up, I wake up, I have my breakfast, and I'm like, what am I feeling today? How, and I also listen to a lot of podcasts. So sometimes I draw my inspiration from the podcast. And
so what are some of those, podcasts, or what are some of the media outlets that you get this positive reinforcement in the morning?
Yeah, so I listen to Oprah's Super Soul Conversations. It's my go-to podcast. I listen to it every morning. And if I'm not listening to Oprah, I'm usually listening to Joel Osteen, who also is super encouraging. He uses his platform just to uplift, and I enjoy both of the podcasts because I feel like they do that. With Oprah, she brings on other, writers and spiritual leaders to share their life stories, and she also recommends a lot of books for her listeners to read, and I love that. Just like the part of it. So I definitely get a lot of my inspiration from those two podcasts for sure.
That's very helpful, especially for our audience who are looking for more inspiration. So we can link those podcasts in our show notes.
Yes.
Don't forget to say no to the box.
Could you talk about some of your sponsors and partners that support your products? Because that too kind of lent me to thinking, oh, maybe Tamisha is a social media influencer, but for dance.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily have any sponsors, but I'm a brand ambassador for a skincare product, Fi, and it's a vegan skincare product. It is a product that, if a number are sold, they give back to women in Morocco, and I think I definitely loved their support of women. So I was, definitely interested in being on board with this brand. But that's the only brand that I currently support.
How did you guys connect, and how did you start to support this brand?
Sure. So I've been seeing the brand kind of on other dancers' pages and in other spaces on social media, and I've always wanted to actually purchase the product, but I never got around to doing it just because I had been using other products and I wanted to finish them before I started using anything else. But I think someone reached out to me actually on Instagram, and they asked if I would be interested in supporting the product, and they were open to sending some samples my way just so I can test it out before I said yes. So they sent the samples. I used them for 3 weeks or so, and I fell in love with it. And then I just got on board with supporting and becoming an ambassador with the company.
Thanks for sharing. I think a lot of our listeners are curious how that process actually looks like. So thanks for unveiling that for us.
No problem.
So I also noticed you've been featured in Dance Magazine, and you shared how you've taken up boxing, and then you shared some fitness recommendations and different tips and things. So I'm wondering, what is it like to be featured in all these publications and share your story and recommendations? How do you balance kind of doing this more press side of things along with your career as a professional dancer and rehearsal director?
Sure. So firstly, I'm always honored if anyone wants to, if they take interest in something that I'm doing. And I'm not necessarily doing it for that, but it's great to be, recognized. And I would say in terms of balancing it all, it's scheduling. So my phone conversation or interview was probably scheduled like really early in the morning. And rehearsals usually start at 12. Sometimes they may start at 10, but usually we start at 12. So it was pretty doable to schedule an interview and then have a full rehearsal day. So that part of it, I wouldn't say is super challenging if the scheduling is just right.
What are some tips you could have for our audience who are trying to wear many hats, just like you are, in terms of working with the calendar and scheduling things?
Yeah, I would say definitely get a planner. I write every single thing down, even scheduling dinner dates and things like that with friends and quality time. I like to just like have it all written down and have something to look at in front of me, just so you can also see how much you're putting on your plate, and to see if it's doable, because sometimes you may have 4 or 5 things to do in one day. And if you see it all written down, you might tell yourself after looking at it that might not be possible, or that might not be the best thing for me to do, considering maybe all of the other things that you might have. So I think it's definitely just like, getting a planner and writing things down, and also knowing how much you can handle, because some people can do multiple things in one day. But planners have definitely been my saving grace and has helped me with my scheduling and keeping track of everything.
Do you have any advice on saying no to projects or to tasks? I know that might be something that a lot of people struggle with, especially I feel like in the dance industry. So what advice might you have for saying no to things?
Sure. So I definitely struggled with saying no in the beginning, which I think every dancer has struggled with, just because you're new to the field and you want to let everyone know that you're this available dancer and person. But I think
exactly, and like you're hungry for opportunities.
Exactly. But you often burn yourself out in that way, and then you can't necessarily give your full self to each task. And I think now I'm getting more comfortable, I think, with saying no to things that I feel aren't going to serve me in the long haul. I think
So what's that thought process like? How do you know? Because I feel like for me personally, I'm always like, how will I know if I say no to this and this could lead to this one great thing and I said no? So how do you think about it?
Right. For me, it's often just intuition most of the time. I can read over, whether it be a contract or just a message someone sent me. And, I read it a few times. I kind of put my phone down. I think about it. I think about the amount of time that I am going to give to this project too. I think that's really important. Along with the other things that I have on my plate already. So I think that also factors in a lot too. I think if it's going to take up so much time and energy, and if I feel that it's going to take away from what I already have on my plate, I won't do it. So I think that factors in for sure. Yeah, but it is hard. I think I still sort of struggle with it, but I'm definitely getting better. And also knowing that because you're saying no to, an opportunity, that doesn't mean that more opportunities won't come your way. I think that's often what we think usually, but just knowing that this one opportunity came, another one will come, at another time. You just have to be hopeful that.
You are listening to Navvox Dance.
So I want to circle back to talk a little bit more about social media and Abraham in Motion. So I noticed that Abraham in Motion participated in the Black History Month with Google Arts and Culture. So I was wondering if you could share more about that and what it looked like.
Yes, that was super awesome. Firstly, because
it's just so cool that Google's sponsoring things like this.
Yes. I think to be recognized by Google, which is such like a mega force, was just super awesome. And I got to see images of myself that I hadn't seen before as well. So I was like, oh my gosh, like this is finally out. Or and it was kind of fun. It was like a gallery of Kyle's works and just images from, I think, well beyond when I was in the company too. So it was really nice to just see his company as it developed over time, and the images are still living online. So, I can always go back and view the gallery or the exhibit that Google created. But it was really awesome. And I know the company was just super excited to be a part of the opportunity, and just also being one of the, I would say one of the more known companies in New York. To be recognized in that way was definitely special.
Did they reach out to you all and like invite you to be a part of it? Or was it like, we want to recognize what A.I.M has already accomplished?
I'm not sure how the relationship or how the negotiating took place, but I know they definitely probably spoke to the administrative team to ask if probably we were interested in being featured, and of course the company agreed to be featured.
That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So along the same lines about social media, I want to switch over to Facebook. So first off, congratulations. I watched the Merce Cunningham Night of 100 Solos where you performed along with many other artists. What was that like to perform for a Facebook live stream?
It was, I think I'm still processing, and it's been almost a month. But it was, the event was just magical. I think we all felt this energy because we sort of had like a 4-day intensive of taking class and learning the solos and putting it all together, and just being amongst some of the most incredible dancers in New York City was a treat in itself. But to do work by a choreographer that has contributed so much to this field was just beyond us. And you can definitely feel that in the room. So performing and also performing on the BAM opera stage, like there was just so many things that it was just so surreal, but we just got to live in this moment, and now we can say that we're a part of Merce Cunningham's legacy, which is something that I know many of us, we never thought that we would be able to say. So I'm truly honored and just will forever be grateful to have been a part of, this event. And knowing that it can live online, or it will live online for another 2 months. So if I wanted to go back and kind of relive the moment, I can. So it was just truly special.
Did you have so like in the planning of it all, what did that look like? So you said you came together for 4 days, you had classes and rehearsals. And I know there were certain people who were directing these rehearsals. Did they have to let you know, oh, we're going to set up the Facebook live stream camera here? Or was that factored into this time in preparing for the concert?
Not necessarily. So Patricia Lint and Jean Freeberry, they were, I would say, the masterminds behind the entire event. And they were responsible for putting the New York sector together. So we were in rehearsals with them for over the 4 days, and the cameras weren't in the room until, or the live stream wasn't set up until the final performance. And we didn't necessarily have anything to, we didn't have to touch base with the live stream or anything like that. It was kind of like set up, and they already knew what their task was, and we just had to hit the stage and do the work.
And perform.
And perform, exactly. Yes. But it was just such a smooth, it was just so smooth. It was so smooth, given all of the, different components, because there were musicians and, the live stream had to be organized. So there was just a lot more that was kind of, that went into making the show.
I think for me, it was so cool to be sitting, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and be able to watch, this whole night of 100 solos from New York, and then again, watch London, and that the fact that we could all, or different people could plug in and watch what you've been working on in New York or wherever the location might be, to honor Merce Cunningham is, I think, just really incredible, and kind of speaks to the power of social media and how it's able to connect us in this new way. Yeah. So I'm curious, do you see a correlation between the accessibility of the digital space and then the growth of dance audiences?
That's a very great question. I think, I would say yes, honestly, because there are a number of shows that I think I've been to, or friends have been to, that, they often say, oh, I wouldn't have known of this show if I didn't go on, go on social media, or checked out someone's page and saw that this event or show was happening. So I think it definitely can have an influence on, creating more of an audience, for sure. And also, someone might see a post or for a show that's coming up, and they may not know what it is, but from the image or something, they might want to just like give it a chance and see what it is. So I think it definitely has the potential to get more people, attending and taking interest in wanting to be in the audience. Because I know I've definitely saw, images of posts on social media, and I'm like, oh, I want to check that out. And then I, write it in my planner, and I know that it's happening on this day, and I go. But if I didn't see it on social media, I probably wouldn't have known that it was happening. So, yeah.
And so if you had to share one piece of advice for emerging artists using social media, what would it be?
I would definitely say not to take it too seriously.
I love that.
Yeah, like, don't take it too seriously. Just have fun. And, also be mindful of what you're posting, because once it's out in the world, it's there forever. So I think also keep that in mind as well. But just have fun, and you don't have to feel like you have to curate something or make your page perfect or this thing. Just post because you enjoy it. And I think that's what I do. You know, of course, I take images and I have photo shoots, but I just have fun. I'm like, oh, I like this image. And this quote is speaking to me today. And I know that it might speak to other people as well. So I'm going to just post it. And, you know, so I definitely would just say have fun with it and not take it too seriously.
That's great advice, because I know a lot of our conversations lately on this podcast have been about branding and using this, you know, as a marketing tool. But I think when it comes down to the end of the day, yeah, it's important to just be yourself and to have fun. So I think that, thank you for sharing that advice. And you previously mentioned 2 podcasts you listen to by Oprah and Joel Osteen, but how else do you stay current or aware of the world and the dance field specifically? So do you have specific recommendations for our listeners?
Yeah, so there's always Dance NYC, where you can find auditions, volunteer opportunities, readings, just everything that, you know, you might find classes. Like there's just a lot of sources on that site. Sometimes I often go to like maybe Give Me Dance, Steps on Broadway, like all of these places where, you know, you can take dance classes just to see what's going on in those spaces. And often you can just go to, you know, you can go to Give Me, just walk in and you go upstairs and they usually have a bulletin board of auditions or shows and just things that are going on in the field. And, you know, you can keep yourself up to date in that way. But definitely Dance NYC and just like going to different websites and word of mouth as well. I think, you know, talk to the people that are in your community, ask them what they're up to, what shows they're seeing, what events they're going to, if they're working on anything, just so you keep up with what's going on also, but you know, also that you're supporting, because I feel like if and you go to shows, you see enough shows, you're going to walk away, you know, having met like 1 or 2 people. So you start to sort of just get to know more people that way. I like to go to a lot of dance shows to support firstly, but also to just see what's out there.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tamisha.
Flash 4.
So as we wrap up, we have what's called our Flash 4 portion, where we ask all our guests to answer 4 questions in a flash. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here we go. If you had to recommend a resource to our audience, what would it be?
Dance NYC. Even though I said that already.
No, that's great. What was the first dance you saw?
I saw New York City Ballet when I was 10. Can't remember the dance specifically.
Oh, okay. Do you think social media has a positive influence on the dance world? Yes or no?
Can I say yes and no?
Yes, of course. What is your favorite social media platform?
Instagram, because that's what I use the most.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Tamisha, for all of your tips and advice and walking us through your career and auditions. I feel like this has been such a fruitful interview, and I've really enjoyed getting to speak with you. Can you share with our listeners your social media handles and website and how they could stay connected with you?
Sure. So on Instagram, my name is just Tamisha Guy. On Twitter, it's Tamisha_28. And on Facebook, it's just Tamisha Guy. But as I said, I'm usually on Instagram mostly. So that's where you can find me. But thank you so much again for having me and for speaking with me today. I'm just grateful to have been asked and to be able to share my experience with you all.
Well, thanks, Tamisha. It's been wonderful to connect with you. And I wish you good luck on all your future performances and everything like that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking your time to tune into Dance Behind the Screen, a bi-monthly interview series where we go behind the screen to question process, product, and social media. Be sure to follow us on social media at KNOW Box Dance. See you next time, and don't forget to say no to the box.